Welcome back to the Games Gamers. We have a really interesting video. We've got members of our community. We always try and get people in and involved in our discussions. I think that's really important. Go check out our Discord below. You guys can join that and be part of these videos. It's really important for me as a content creator to get you guys involved. And I appreciate the fact that you guys are very supportive of not only this channel, but the Star Citizen community. It's great to have you guys aboard. Today we have EMP. Hi, EMP. How you doing?
What's up, gamers?
Sweet. It's the first video EMP is in. I'm excited because EMP always has like really intelligent things to say. I've learned a lot actually from Star Citizen, from EMP, so it's great to have him here. And then of course we have Superfan Blaine. Superfan Blaine, do your Viking call. Where's your Viking call?
I don't have a Viking call yet.
Welcome, you two. It's great to have you guys on this video. Today we're going to be discussing Star Citizen being a pay-to-win model or a pay-to-play model. Now, I am of the camp that is the pay-to-win model. What are you guys? We'll start with EMP. What do you think?
I think it's pay-to-play.
Okay, pay-to-play model. And how about you, Blaine?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I think it's a pay-to-play game, yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. These are the odds I love. I love it. I love it. So we're going to be talking about different points that Chris has made in an earlier video confirming the fact that UEC will be in the game. This video was done in 2014, so it is a bit older. Viewpoints might have changed since. I don't think really that they have in regards to UEC because you can purchase it in game. I'll show a picture here. You guys can see that UEC currently can be bought and will be bought after the game's final release. $1 per 1,000 creds is the exchange rate currently that we see. They may be able to play with that to place some type of a cap, but I think even regardless of the cap, you're still going to have people trying to game the system, and that it will be a pay-to-win model. Now, let's watch a video first, and then I will bring up some points, and we'll have a lot of fun debating this. Let's watch the video.
Okay, next question comes from Quick. With a Q, so QYIK, says, when Star Citizen goes live, will players still be able to buy UEC with real money? And if so, how will you be able to keep the economy balanced when players can print their own in-game money? Thanks to the whole team involved and putting this masterpiece together. Quick one. So when the game goes live, we will let players buy some UEC with real money. I think we've stated before that we're going to put a cap on that. You know, whether it's a daily or a monthly amount, it'll be a certain fixed amount that you'll be able to put into the system, and that's really to allow. I mean, well, a couple of things. One, once the game's out, you know, since we're not charging a subscription, we need to figure out some way to bring some revenue in so we can keep the servers up, and we can also be adding content as we go on, because our plan is to continually add more and more features and more content, and you know, it's space, so it's kind of infinite, so we can keep on building it out and making it, you know, just a lot more going on there, and you know, we really want to make it very reactive to what the players are doing, which will require, you know, quite a lot of sort of game master staff and people dedicated to sort of building content that riffs off what the players are doing in the universe. So you need money to do that. So our sort of revenue plan, if you want to call it, is you know, new players are coming in and basically buying their initial package, or existing players that maybe don't have 20 hours a week to be flying around and you know, adventuring and making money, but they've got a few hours on the weekend, and you know, they really like that cool ship and they just want to fly it, and so they don't mind spending a little money for to buy the UEC. And you know, the philosophy of the game is that there is nothing in the game that you can only buy with money. Like basically, you can earn everything playing the game, but you can also purchase some credits and sort of shortcut having to spend the time running missions to earn some money. And by the way, running missions is the fun part of the game, right? So that's not like a grind like it would be on most of games that would sort of have this kind of thing. That's the core. That's the core of what Privateer was. That's the core of what Freelancer was. But you know, we do recognize that there's people like myself who are now older, and I don't have all the time in the world, and so sometimes, you know, I don't mind paying a little bit for convenience, I guess would be the way to say it. So those are the two ways that we think that we'll be able to generate enough revenue to keep basically the servers on, content flowing back into it. But as to the question of whether it's going to unbalance the game, because we're limiting it, and because there's also a whole bunch of sort of real world I guess simulation of dynamics of the universe. So for instance, you know, there's a cost to doing business, there's landing tariffs, there's sales taxes, you know, your equipment, you know, basically has wear and tear over time. You can see it sort of get older, and then you've got to maintain it, and you've got to fix it up occasionally. So all these things take money to have happen, and so essentially they sort of will balance out. But even with people bringing new money into the system, these things will sort of take a little bit of money out. And then of course the other big concept is that the player base in this universe is only a small portion of what we're really simulating. So we're estimating that the player base will be no more than 10% of kind of the economy we're simulating and the number of AI or NPCs that are running around on a big meta basis. And so at that point you don't have a large group of people. So if someone comes in and everyone decides to buy some UEC, which they're not going to do, they still wouldn't be able to bring enough in that would really effectively unbalance the economy based on what the other sort of credit sinks are happening in the economy and just the ratio of real players to NPC players, and the fact that we also limit the stuff. So that's what our plan is. I mean, obviously we're not at that point yet, so it could have some flaws, but we think that it's a pretty good approach to take at the moment.
So Chris is saying that UC is going to be sold after the fact, but there will be caps on it, and he will try and limit it by not only the caps, but that there will also be actions taken against large groups of people trying to take and game the system. Now, I'm not quite sure how that's going to be policed. I don't think that is going to be policed. And I don't know if they really truly want it to be policed, because as a corporation, they need to show a profit every month. Otherwise, they go under. They need the money. They need the revenue to keep the game going. I'm not upset with the fact that they're going to be having it after the fact, because, they need to support the game. They need to keep the money rolling in for all their expenses, which their expenses are pretty major, with 5 places right now currently, and I think over 350 employees right now currently.
360, I think is it.
Yeah. So, I mean, they definitely have expenses, and this is something that I think will help. Now, they didn't mention anything about concept sales after the fact. I think they'll continue to have concept sales where you can take real life money and then purchase ships after the fact that the game is released also. So I think that will also continue to be a revenue stream for them. It would be dumb if they didn't do that. As Chris had mentioned in the video, that the older you get, you don't really have as much time to grind missions, and he did mention that missions will be different, and the core of the game, like Privateer and other games, and the missions will be different. I've seen a lot of the content released on missioning. It looks fun. You're part of a storyline that you can actually choose which route you want to go. It'll affect your faction, your status, etc. So it is a different missioning system. I do like it. I'm not a big mission grinder type of guy, but it definitely looks like something that is going to be what I remember the old school Chris kind of missioning, where everything has a storyline and it's really immersive. So I'm happy about that, but I don't think it's going to keep people away from trying to buy UEC in the game. I think that even if the cap were at $20 per day or $20 per week, you're still going to find large organizations that are getting large groups of people saying, hey, we want to be a dominant force within the universe. We want to actually have an effect on other players, organizations. We get into the 90-10 split again, where there's 9 AI, 9 NPC per human player, and Chris is saying that will be a limiting effect as well. There's a lot of things that he's saying will counteract it, such as the money sinks as repairs and taxes and fees. I don't think that's going to affect really gaming the system for people to buy UEC on a large scale. I don't think it's going to be policeable. All right, let's start with EMP here. What do you think, EMP, as to what the video said, as to what I'm saying? I'd like to hear your angle on this.
Personally, I feel like the thing that's going to make it pay to win or pay to play is efficiency, right? So if you have the ability to buy UEC, say at the current rate, what it is now, we don't know anything else, so we'll just go with that, $20 for 20,000 UEC. Now, they've said that the prices of ships will go up once the game is released. So if a ship sells for 750,000 UEC equivalent in real cash now, it will not sell for that when the game goes live. So we're told.
Okay, that's interesting information. I wasn't aware of that. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. So if you can get 20,000 UEC by spending $20 a day, that's not going to be very efficient in my eyes. Like, it might be a supplement. It might give
Right.
you that little extra bit. Like, say I don't have 20 hours to play a day. I need a little
Right.
extra cash in my pocket to
Like
go
a
get
boost.
that new weapon or that new shield mod, that new module, whatever. But if it's not a very high cap, I mean, 20,000 UEC right now, alpha UEC in the alpha, you can make that in 6 hours. It's not very hard. So I think it's mostly going to come down to efficiency. If you can outpace the game by buying UEC with real money, or if it's more efficient to earn and grind the UEC in game and just be able to supplement, times when you don't have a lot of time or you're not making a lot of
Right,
money
right.
with real
I
cash.
get what you're saying. It comes down to like what actually the cap is going to be. I mean, that essentially is the crux of the whole issue of if it is going to be pay to win or pay to play. So, for instance, if he does set a cap of like the imaginary $20 a day that I had put, you're right. If the ship prices go up exponentially to the point where like the players cost 750,000 credits in game now, because $1 equals 1,000 creds, and the players is 750,000, and it goes from 750,000 to 7.5 million, then yes, I think then I will slightly change my stance. But I think the number of people collectively together being able to kind of make this an ultimate goal and saying, all right, we've got an organization that has 10,000 members. There are organizations that have 10,000 members. If 10% of the 10,000 members actually use this kind of goal to buy UEC, and they're buying like, let's say $20 a week. If a Polaris then jumps from 750 to 7.5, all of a sudden it's going to be very hard to game the system. So they could do that. It's all upon, I guess, the multiplier that they're going to use to cap it. Now, don't you think, though, that if they make it kind of unattainable in that respect and put a harsh cap on there, that it's going to limit the amount of revenue as a company that they're going to make?
To a degree, right? And that's kind of the question that's still up in the air is, how are they going to make money afterwards? Because they said that they haven't
Oh
said they're
yeah,
ever
that's a
going to
huge thing.
charge a sub or anything like that. So we have to assume that it's going to be off of microtransactions, in-game purchases, whatever. Like this could be one of those things, buying UEC. I don't think it's going to be their only source. They can't base their source of revenue off of one thing. They're going to use box
Coding.
or whatever from Squadron 42.
Right.
Starter
So they're going to get revenue from Squadron 42, and on an individual basis, for instance, like a $20 gift or a $20 exchange rate, to 20,000 creds in game will buy you a lot of equipment. I can see that the equipment prices probably will remain the same as far as the weapons on ships, the personal weapons you have for FPS. I would imagine that you're still going to see quite a bit of demand for people taking their real life money and exchanging it for those items. Perhaps what they can do is they can change the prices of the ships so that the real, like for instance, the sale concepts or the actual finished ships. I don't think there'll be concept ships after the game's released. I think after the game is released, they'll be releasing ships and they'll say, here's the finished ship, here's the actual real life money price, and here is the credit price. So that I think what they could do is actually take the credit price, and then they could increase the credit price while keeping the real life price, standard, what it is now, but inflating the credit price. So that might be kind of a limiting cap factor, but I really don't see that stopping people from collectively, saying, okay, let's do the best that we can do to game the system. I think that's still going to exist, and you're going to eventually, over time, see certain organizations have more power than other organizations. And when it comes down to it, even if it's a 90-10 split, you have 9 NPCs versus 1 human player. What I see in the game is you're going to see a lot of human versus human organizations trying to gain power over other human organizations, while the storyline and the gameplay is indicative of what SIG is going to write for us, and we will have some limiting effect on the storyline per our own involvement. They initially will be executor of the story. We really aren't going to have a lot of say when it comes to that. We're not going to be able to overthrow any type of NPC or government, faction. Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I think
Operation Pitchfork.
Right, and Pitchfork is a great idea, and I love what people are doing in Pitchfork because it's testing the game. I love what they're doing. I don't think they're going to have as much effect as they think that they are.
Personally, I think they're going to have zero effect. But
it'll be fun.
It'll
be fun to see. I mean, that's why I love Pitchfork. It's a variable that wasn't there, and I love when people do something that's different. So kudos to people of Pitchfork. Like I'm all for you guys trying to make a change. I don't think that it's going to have a direct effect like you, MPA, but I do think that what we will have effect on is other human organizations, and I think the crux of the game or the focus of organizations are going to be to limit what other organizations are going to be able to do as far as where they're going to be able to operate. I don't want this organization that is my competitor to have better pricing on or certain types of items. I'm going to make sure that my organization is going to have the ability to hamper their operations, and I personally will not operate under the policy of, hey guys, let's get all the creds we can get, because I don't think I'm going to need that. I think I can use the resources in the game just as well or even better than people would actually try to manipulate the game by buying the creds with the real life money. I've done it before in EVE, and I think human nature will just try to buy these creds and to do this. I don't see it stopping no matter how well they police it. Blaine, what do you think?
Well, first of all, it makes me think it's not that much of a pay to win, especially when it comes to smaller groups and individuals, is that I can't name any game right now that has this, really. So Star Citizen is my only lead on this. But the game is going to be skill-based. So you can buy your best ships, your best equipment, but you won't have any experience with all the flying, dogfighting, or all the other kinds of stuff. While technically, someone with a worse ship, worse equipment could beat you in the very best equipment you can buy. So if you grind your way up there, get a load of experience fighting and dogfighting and all of that stuff, then you will first of all be a better dogfighter. So you will probably get like small groups or individuals who think they're paying to win the game. So you will be able to defeat those. But of course, when it comes to the big organizations, then you probably won't stand a chance. But what CRG could do to fix this is get like a huge event with the Vandul, for example, that I don't know, they're going to be attacking this organization, for example, if it's a military organization, of course, because it would be silly.
That's an interesting concept.
It would be silly if they start attacking a trader company because they're too big.
So what you're saying is, this is interesting. I never thought of this angle. So for instance, maybe a way of policing corporations or organizations that are trying to employ a strategy of buying UEC with real life money is perhaps SIG will police it by saying, okay, well, they're going to take their own resources, their own AI, and attack a organization outright. That would actually be pretty cool. Like if
in a lore friendly way too, or like if you're
right, that would be interesting.
Too many of these premium ships, the Vandul will take notice, and then they will come and attack you, thinking that you might be an aggressor or something. So
right. Like you're gonna have a lot of salty people. That's a really cool angle, Blaine. I never really thought about that. I don't know if they do that though, but like imagine that. Like I'd imagine the salt coming from that would be really immense. But I think that would be a really cool kind of game event. When they were talking about Spectrum, that was one of the cool things I liked about Spectrum, was that you could actually be notified of like in-game events. And how cool would it be as if like you saw something on your phone as you were like driving around, and it said that the Vandul are attacking
this corporation, and the corporation is losing,
you'd look at it, you'd be like, wait a second, what the fuck? The Vandal are actually attacking my organization.
Well, I'm on the road. I'm on work, man, dude. I can't.
Yeah, or even like or like trade bans with the Banu, and the Banu are like, we're not happy with how XYZ organization is employing business strategy, so we're not trading with them anymore, right?
Then,
that would be,
in my opinion, if they do this kind of solutions, like with the Vandal against aggressive corporations that have like all fleets and stuff, and with the Banu with trading and stuff, they shouldn't do it like that the whole corporation get like shut down because everything gets destroyed or they can't do anything anymore. It should be like just annoying them, so they won't get that much progress, and gives other people the opportunity to grow enough to be able to stand up to them.
Right, that would be interesting. I think the probability of that happening is very low, but I really like the concept of it, Blaine. I really like that angle. I think that's very cool. What do you guys think about the other caps that Chris had mentioned in the video, such as like the 90-10 split? Do you really think that just because there's 9 NPCs to 1 human, that is really going to limit the money-making factor that we will have as players of the game? EMP?
I don't think so, because I think that's going to be a cyclical system in of itself. It's not really going to impact us. We're not really going to interact with it unless we're choosing to do so. So it's going to be a system where you get out of it what you want, and the interaction that you have with it. I mean, there's going to be...
It's a tool. Yeah, it's a tool of sorts, right?
There's 10,000 players online at a given time. There's 90,000 NPCs out there. They're not all making money. They're not all selling stuff. They're bounty hunters. They're mercenaries. They're there to create, be a part of missions. They're there to fly goods from place to place. They're not all there just to extract money from the economy or to put money in the economy. I don't think
it's a supplementary. It's a supplementary tool of sorts. Like, I think that the best way to generate revenue and income within the game is actually more like with human interaction. Just as what like we were talking about, for instance, where like Blaine was talking about like an event that would happen, like an AI event against an actual human organization. I don't know how effective that would really be when you consider the fact that if you're playing Arena Commander and you're playing even the best AI, you're still going to be able to beat them. Like 9 AI versus 1 human, I'll take those odds any day. Like, I'll take 1 human over 9 AI any day. But I think what you might find with smaller organizations is that employ like a pay to win strategy. They may actually be able to buy more ships and crew them with the NPCs, like we had learned 2 months ago about how you can actually like employ NPCs and then scale them up. And you might see a lot of people trying to game the system in that respect, where like, okay, we bought all the creds that we can get this week. We finally have the money to where we can buy the Polaris. Now let's equip this particular Polaris with like 1 human and all AI characters. I would highly, tell people not to do that. I don't think that's a smart strategy.
Being a large point to that, though, because if you're going to play that way, then the purpose of your game experience is to make money. So if you're going to spend a large amount of money to then go make a large amount of money, why would you not then just save?
You'd have to you'd have to actually have the money make money, and you really couldn't do it by buying ships that were really meant for not making money. I mean, those ships would have to be like security for the ships that would make the money, like the Hall class ships, like the Orion, ships that are actually making you money. But corporations, or I keep saying corporations because I've been playing EVE too long, organizations that would use creds would probably start off buying ships that would be more indicative of making money, like the ships that I had mentioned. But eventually you would need like security ships to protect those ships.
Those people have already done that. Like, just having trolled
the
forums for large organizations before in my search for the organization I wanted to call home, I've seen organizations with ships, like fleets of hundreds of ships already. Like there are people out there.
They've already bought them. They've already bought them, right? But isn't that pay to win? But isn't that pay to win now? I mean, like, that really is pay to win? Like but they still need the people to man those ships, though. They still need the people.
That's what I was going to say, because Oh,
That's the draw, though, isn't it? Isn't that the draw?
It's
Though?
also
yeah.
the drawback.
Well, yeah. Good point. Good point. Go ahead, Blaine.
Yeah, so well, you of course need the people for all of these ships, and you might not have the real people. And if you do, you need to have some good communications, because if you don't have good communications, then things could get messed up, and people could easily infiltrate you, for example, and sabotage your whole thing, your whole ships and stuff. But if you do like NPC class and you can't make the money in the game, then you will have to keep paying a lot of money every month just to keep your NPCs and ships running.
Right, you're gonna have your costs. You're gonna have your expenses that will be like hitting every week with all of the NPC, like that stipend
And
that
the
you have to
ships,
pay
you have to
every
pay
week.
fuel,
Right, right. The
rocket,
fuel and all the expenses.
ammo.
I still think I really think, though, that if enough of a concentrated effort was made by an organization that was larger, they could still game the system. I don't think there's enough policing action here, unless what we had talked about in the very beginning. I think that the most limiting factor of gaming the system to impose a cap that would actually increase prices of ships in game as far as creds would be the best way to go about it.
Well, you could have another one too, like the way they do it with the store, like how you can't spend store credits on certain things and you can only spend real money on those things. Make it the same way, like you can't share store bought UEC with your organization or other people. You can't use that money to trade with players. You can only use that for, say, buying and purchasing through NPCs or like at an Astro Armada or a Dumpers Depot or something. Like there can be no interaction between one player who hasn't paid for something to another player who has. Uh, the only way you can do that is through the natural attrition of the game. Like, say, if you bought a ship through the store, you got that ship blown up, and a player who's never bought anything from the store in his life comes along with a salvage ship and salvages your bought ship. He can keep that because he's acquired that through meaningful gameplay, not through a store purchase. So if they find a way not just to cap how much you can buy, but in the ways you can spend that store bought UEC, I think that enough will be make it prohibitive
It
the
could.
big
Yeah,
organizations.
it really could.
So
That's a
like
good. That's
we can't
good.
just
Hmm.
group. We can't all just like, because then you'll have orgs that will charge like charter fees and stuff to join their, like, to join our organization.
Right.
You
And
have to
have their
provide
own taxes,
$25 worth
right?
of
Right,
UEC,
right.
and
And
we tax your
correct, right.
UEC, and then
Right, right.
it's.
Like an organization tax
I would
almost.
have to think that they would think about that kind of thing and realize that that's just not the type of gameplay they. That's the problem with Eve right now, is that you've got people running around in basically banks of money that they've poured into the game, and the little guy gets squeezed out. And I don't think that that's something that Chris Roberts is going to allow to happen in this universe, even if it is
Hmm.
technically, yes, you can pay to win. I don't think so. It's more of a pay to make it go faster. But like, if you buy $1,000 ship and 20 dudes in Hornets comes along and blows up your $1,000 ship, you what have you bought in yourself? You've bought in
You really
yourself
didn't
a
win,
thousand
right? You
dollars of
really
depression,
you
basically.
pay to lose,
Because
pay to lose. We didn't talk about pay to
like
lose
Blaine
at
said,
all.
it's game simple.
Yeah.
Buying $1,000 ship doesn't guarantee you will do anything. The only problem I have is that they have said, uh, or I've heard it around. I don't quote me on this, but that the more money you make, the better stuff you will be offered in return. So like if you have a little Aurora, you're going to get missions that are worth a few hundred or a few thousand UEC. But if you're rolling
Right,
around in
right.
Andromeda, you're going to be getting stuff that's worth
So you do
dozens
have
of thousands.
availability to making a lot more revenue,
I
right?
hope that
With
they
larger
find a way
ships.
to roll
Balance
that
it.
out so it's not, yeah, so it's not unfair to the people, because they said a majority of the people who have bought into this game have just bought in with the basic starter package. There's those guys who buy the Carracks, who buy the Andromedas, but they're 100 here, 100 there. There's 1.5 million people who have got active accounts. Let's say 1 million of those people have bought into the game. I would hazard a guess that 800,000 to 900,000 of those people would be Aurora owners primarily.
Right. I would imagine that
Um,
many of the players are just buying an initial starter package to play the game, you know.
can I?
Go ahead, Blaine.
Yeah, okay. So I want to mention two things actually. The first about being the solution you just said about increasing prices on ships. Well, that could potentially like decrease the pay to win factor, but it would be a lot harder for other people who don't have the money to pay and don't even have the time maybe to even get the bigger ships. Even if you're a small corporation and your Andromeda is like super expensive, then it will be really hard for you to even get more money. Instead, they could just increase the prices on the capital ships, the really big ships that aren't meant for like solo players and small groups. And another possible solution, just thinking out loud there, is that you could have like the normal UEC you earn in game and the UEC you buy with your real money. That the ships you would buy with real money would have, let's say, weaker stats on ships and equipment. So if you do want to buy stuff, it's going to be weaker than the stuff you actually buy from working your ass off in the game.
I don't see that happening because that would
Yeah, it probably won't, but
people wouldn't buy something if it was. That's the thing. People will always take the path of least resistance, and if buying something outside of the game is not as efficient as buying something in the game, they won't do it unless they have disposable income, and that's
Which is why I think that in order for this not to be a pay to win model, they really have to look at how they're going to cap it, how they're going to police it. And my thing is this, it's human nature, right? As a corporation, when a corporation says, "Oh, we're going to limit the amount of revenue we're going to make," I don't believe it. Like, I don't care who it is. Even Chris, you know, like when people say, we don't want to make a lot of money.
well, I think for him it's primarily about the game first, and if
I do too. I do too. All in all, but like you have to think though. EMP, like I mean, like he has that nature about him. I respect him for it. He wants to make that game for us. I actually started playing Star Citizen because somebody had mentioned it, and I didn't know much about it. And the second I knew, I mean, it was literally within the first 10 minutes when I found out Chris Roberts was making it, I was already sold. I didn't even need anything else other than knowing that Chris was behind the game, because I have played his games before and I love them. They're very immersive. But I will say this, as a CEO, you know, versus a creator, like he's got two sides in him. He's got one that's the creative kind of force making this amazing game for us, but on the other side, he's also the CEO of 600 or what is it again, 360 people. So he's looking out for 360 people's livelihoods. I doubt that the creative side wins out a lot over the CEO side. I'm being really harsh by saying that, but like on a real world level, and that's one of the things I think I worry about the most, is like that they're going to get too big for themselves too fast. Like already you're seeing kind of like I think personally that they're struggling with money right now. Like 120 million, 130 million almost is where they're at currently, with 5 locations and 300 plus employees is a lot of monthly expenses, a lot. So for somebody to say, hey, we're going to cap it and continue forward growing as a company is going to be very hard to do. So it all has to do again with how they're going to cap and keep the game playable for us. Because I know one thing that's going to be a big deterrent for me is if I do go and this is going to be like an Eve where I do see that it's very gamed, I'm going to be really upset. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be really upset if they start to see that in fact collectively an organization can take their real life money and convert this into UEC and then apply those credits towards becoming like a mega, you know, a mega force within the world and kind of hamper other people's gameplay. You're going to see a lot of people pissed off, and I don't see
playing the game.
Yeah, and I don't see that being constructive for the game. It's a very fine line. It's a balancing act, but I don't think what Chris mentioned in the video is enough to police it. I really don't. I don't think that his answer in the video was a good answer, but it wasn't like an answer that I felt comfortable with. You know,
Well, I
when
also
he had
think it was
mentioned
an
like,
answer that was kind of preliminary. Like right now they're
right,
working on
right,
making the game. Let's worry
right.
about monetizing the game when it's actually
Yeah,
at that point. Kind of
right.
thing.
When it's at that point, we're very far away from that, and of course, like that video was done 2 years ago. You know, so like I kind of would like to hear a little bit more specifics on these caps. At that particular point in time, that was a very early stage of the game. I hadn't even gotten into Star Citizen at that point in time. I didn't get in until 2015 of January. So that video was done even before I got into the game, and that was way back like 1.0. I mean, that video was like done before we had all the amazingness that Star Citizen has now. So of course, I'm sure that this idea in his head has evolved a bit. I would like to see them talk a little bit more about this. Hopefully they're watching. I thank you guys for being part of this video. This is so much fun. I love having you guys here. Thank you for your cooperation on this video. Look forward to seeing you guys in more videos. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of you out there watching these videos. Get involved with us. Join our Discord. Become part of our videos. That's what we're here for, is just to get you guys involved and have a good time. And thanks for watching the games.
I want to say why I think it's not completely pay to win. So, well, you can buy all your stuff you want, you know, for a corporation, but you can never entirely win the game, because the game doesn't have a win condition. It isn't like who gets the most kills.
Well,
it isn't like
it's not in that effect, right? Because we don't have control over the storyline. But if I could take my organization and make it difficult for you to play the game, then in my mind I won, because I actually have the power now, and you have to bow to me.
Yeah, but even then, I mean,
because I'm a megalomaniac.
Someone who wants to be farming still can do his stuff, even when you have one corporation that's in control of everything. You can still do your farming, or you can even do your bounty hunting. I mean, it's not affecting everything of the game if you have the biggest corporation of the game.
No, but it's like in Eve, it's one of those things where they will if it's a possibility to gain those kind of advantages, those organizations that go to those places that has the best materials or the best trade routes.
Right.
They will
gonna come to
out.
me.
They will patrol them. You know, they'll have their
Oh,
traders going through there. They'll have.
But I find that exciting though. Like I see it this way though, EMP. Yeah. Like this is how I see it, guys. Like that actually makes the gameplay exciting for me. That's actually, a lot of people hate Eve for that, and I see it as a challenge. Like I see it as like, if there is, like, I always saw it that way in Eve too. Like if there was price manipulation, I would always try and talk with my guys and teach them how to trade and say, okay, well, here's how you combat it. And it was always kind of fun for me because it made them better traders to have that competition. Same thing in respects to like security and gaining dominance in systems. You know, like if we were outnumbered, I'd employ like hit and run strategies, and it was always kind of like a fun thing to be like the underdog. Like even in this talk, like I love that you guys both think that it's a pay to play model, not a pay to win model, because like it makes me more energized. And that's, I personally think that human interaction, that involvement is why a game is exciting, is why it's immersive to me, you know, like, and anyhow, this has been a wonderful experience. We do these in a lot of videos where we bring people in, and thank you everybody for watching this video here on the games. See you on the next vid. let's get our opinions first from Ian. Fuck, I just choked on. Wait, we're cutting this out. Let's get. All right, boom.